to Let's Talk TCI Real Estate. For those of you who have never tuned in before, it is an educational podcast that is really geared towards all things real estate in the Turks and Caicos Islands. It's always a pleasure when I can invite a professional on the set to have a conversation about what's happening in the real estate world. Today, like no other, I have a very special guest that is actually going to be speaking to me on the subject of selecting a brokerage. I believe that this podcast is very important, especially for those who are looking to get into the field of real estate. I know when I started, I didn't have much persons to refer to, and it was a struggle trying to figure out where actually to start. And that's why, like I say, I think this will be very beneficial to those of us in the Turks and Caicos Islands because we have a lot of people who are now coming into this field, as well as those in the US who are listening and is able to draw down from the information that's going to be shared today. So without any further delay, I would love to say, please like, please share, please tell your family that Let's Talk TCI Real Estate is live. And please let them know that I have a very special guest that's going to be a part of the conversation today. So without any further delay, I am going to ask Miss Alyssa to please tell us a little bit about herself, tell us how long she's been in real estate, and introduce herself to the listening audience.
Well, thank you so much, Valencia, for having me. I appreciate the invitation to speak to you and your audience.
Thank
I am
you.
Elisa Rayford, and I am in the Metro Atlanta, Georgia area. I have been a real estate agent for about 9 years now. I am a military veteran, and I have also been a former member of the Keller Williams Agent Leadership Council. So I have enjoyed being a realtor for all of this time. I work with all types of buyers and sellers, and I help agents all across the country through training as well.
Well, thank you so much. You obviously have a wealth of knowledge behind you, and I am looking forward as you share that with myself and the listening audience. Just for the sake of giving a little background, I met Alyssa while I was on one of our family reunion trips in Vegas this year. And we just hit it off right away. And we just felt like I just need to get her on this podcast so she can share some of this wealth of knowledge with us. So today, like we said before, the conversation is going to be about choosing the right brokerage. The question for you now is, how many companies have you worked for? And actually, what have attracted you to work for Keller Williams?
So I worked with one other company prior to coming to Keller Williams. I was a dual career agent and I worked part time. And a friend of mine introduced me to my team leader, and that's how I came to Keller Williams. Ironically, I didn't come to Keller Williams right away. It took me about 6 months of going full time before I decided Keller Williams was the right brokerage for me.
So, well, then what actually attracted you to Keller Williams? What made you feel like it was now the right brokerage for you?
For me, I had an incident at my previous broker where I had made a mistake and I didn't have a person in the brokerage at the time that I could go to that could help me with this issue. And it quite honestly was a training issue for me. And it cost me $1,500. So I was like, oh, I need to go someplace or I need to find a brokerage that was going to teach me to how to be a good realtor and get me the training that I needed. Because sometimes when you're training, you don't know what you don't know. And I did not know that I was making such a big mistake. So training is why I came to Keller Williams.
Well, what you're saying about training is so correct. I think no matter what job you start at, training is a big process and a big part of the process, I may say, if I may say. Sometimes we go on our jobs and we feel like because we're an accountant, we can come and sell real estate. But each profession is completely different. And so what you said is spot on. Training is so important in any field that you go on. And so I think that's a good reason to attract you to Keller Williams. I would say that I've actually been with National Colony Realty, a local company, and then we franchised to Keller Williams. So even though I was on the, one employer, it's still as if I had moved from one company to the next. And the onboarding process with National Colony was completely different than it was for Keller Williams. And so the agents who came on with Keller Williams, myself and others, we had a lot more training in our onboarding process. So I too agree with you about the benefits of the training program that Keller Williams does offer. And I felt that it was a better benefit to me as an agent to make sure that I'm more rooted and grounded in my real estate career development process. So I'm with you on that 100%. Training is just one of the things. But what would you say may be some of the other things that a new agent should look for when they're looking to select a brokerage to work under?
Aside from the training, I think new agents should think about what their goals for their career is going to look like. And finding and interviewing, not just them interviewing with the brokerage, them
Mm-hmm.
actually interviewing the brokerage as well. You know,
Mm-hmm.
agents should ask questions, and I think I didn't do that very early on, but the agent should also ask questions of the brokerage that they're having a conversation to they're having a conversation with, to make sure that they align with whatever it is that they want to do, whether it is, grow their business or create some flexibility in their lines, whatever it is, they should want it to align with their business. But they also should want to go and and learn how to be a good realtor, because that's not something that happens automatically. And there's also not just training. That's how it becomes more natural.
Yeah, you've said it. A few things align with what they are looking for. Also, you talk about interviewing the company and not just going to an interview where the company is interviewing them. And that's, I think, why it's so important to do your background research on any company that you decide to work with so you can understand a little bit about the culture and everything else that they have to offer. I think also when you first started talking about when you got into real estate, you spoke about how you were part time. And I think newer agents need to also understand, if they're going to do this part time or they're going to do it full time, because I think that also makes a difference with their choice of brokerage and when they're getting into real estate. What do you think about that?
Being a part-time agent, it for me, it took a lot of time. And even if you are a part-time agent, you should be looking for someone who can mentor you in the process, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
you can start early before you even, jump into being a full-time agent, because it's a learning curve whether you're part-time or whether you're full-time.
Yeah, I think it is a learning curve as well. So we talked about the newer the newer agents. For seasoned agents who have been with a brokerage for a longer period of time, what do you think may be that signal that probably should say they should consider changing their brokerage. Not that trying to say to agents who have been there for a long time, oh, forsake your brokerage, jump ship, and go to someone else. Because, like I said, I have been with my brokerage for quite a long time. But I know
Mhm.
that sometimes you get so relaxed and so settled. And I'm just wondering, is there a sign or a signal or anything that even older agents should think about when thinking about whether they should stay or go over to someone else?
I think so. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like
Mm-hmm.
you want to be challenged. You should be asking yourself, what value is this particular organization providing to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is this organization challenging me? Is this organization helping me grow, or have I
Mm-hmm.
gotten to my plateau? One of the things that I will admit that I love about Keller Williams is the culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Family reunion is truly family reunion because you meet people and you feel like you've known them forever. That's something that was really important to me, to feel like I was a part of an organization that really cared about people. And I'm not saying obviously that you can't get that from some other organization. I'm just saying for
Mm-hmm.
me that was something that was very important when I was selecting Keller Williams.
Yeah, I think growth is very important, like you've said. And not just to keep going back on when I worked for National Colony Realty, my first company. But that particular company, I never realized that there were so many opportunities for career development and growth until I actually moved over to Keller Williams. So I just knew, Bernica, you are a real estate agent, and then we had a broker, and that was it. But when we actually joined Keller Williams, I realized that there were positions like team leader, productivity coach, of course, a real estate agent. You have a opportunity to be an OP. You have an opportunity to be an MCA. So there were so many other opportunities for growth. And like you said, just having that vast opportunity to meet and greet other persons on a larger international scale, like family reunion or mega camp, that also
Mhm.
helped with my growth as a real estate agent. And sometimes you get so relaxed where you are that you don't realize that there's more out there that you can actually tap into. So I think that growth is very important when thinking about if you should make that move from where you is. Sometimes you need a little nudge because you're a little bit complacent, and sometimes the nudge comes in the wrong way. But I was glad for myself that it didn't have to be something bad where we moved over to Keller Williams, and it was a good move.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes. So, talking about Keller Williams, a lot we've been talking about it. Do you feel like a brokerage with a franchise name is important as a part of finding the right fit, especially for an agent?
Personally, I don't think so. But I
Okay.
do think that there is a lot to be said for a company that has name recognition, right? It gives you an opportunity to learn um, from the backside, and then you kind of lead with the
Mm-hmm.
reputation and the credibility of a large organization like a Keller Williams or others. So I don't think that that's necessarily the case, but again, I think it truly depends on what your alignment is and um, what you want out of your real estate career and the value that the brokerage can provide to you.
Yes, value is very important. You have to know your value as an individual, but also like you say, you need to know the value that the brokerage is able to provide you with. So how do you feel, or how do you stay motivated as a real estate agent? Because you know this business can become very daunting sometimes, and sometimes we just need a listening ear. How do you stay motivated?
I have I have clients. I have a folder in my phone that really keeps me motivated on my down days. When I've had a client send me something, when I've had a really bad day and they reminded me, of the value that I provided to them or how happy they was to have me, as their agent, or they share some good news with me. I keep those things as a reminder of why I do this. It's really not about me. It is truly about the people that I have the great opportunity to serve.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome. Sometimes just getting a thank you from a client, or like you say, a special note, it does help to lift your spirits in a good way. And I think also, like based on one of the things you spoke about together, just aligning yourself with great value and great people. And that's why it's so important, I think, that whichever brokerage you decide to go with, you make sure that they feel like family. Because when you have that family to lean on, I think that what helps you to get through all of the daunting times that may come up as a real estate agent. I remember you said when you first started talking on the podcast about how you had an issue with your previous brokerage, and you basically needed the assistance of whoever to help you, and it was a training process. You know, it just shows you that you need the right family members to lean on and to assist and to help you, during these difficult times as a real estate agent. One of the things we do at our office is that we just have open a open forum desk where anybody can come in, they can vent, and they can talk about what issues they're having. And then what we do is we brainstorm to help that agent out. And most times that helps and work to help them feel a bit better. And that's so important why you should also select somewhere that has a market center or an office where you can find time to come in and speak to a real person about real estate. And I mention that because I know that they have some companies out there where you can just work remotely without even coming into an office. But that office presence, I think, makes a difference. What do you think about that?
I do think that makes a difference. When I first got to the office, when I decided that I was going to make the transition, the first thing I said to my team leader was, I need an office in the office. I wanted to be around real estate conversations because I was a dual agent. I wasn't hearing all of the types of scenarios that happen, all of the issues and the challenges that come up for realtors, right? So I wanted to be there just to hear the chatter of what real estate was all about. And that was really beneficial to me. That was so beneficial to me as a fairly new agent to hear all of those things. But it also gave me the opportunity to see, agents who were doing things at a very high level. And it was
Hmm.
motivating for me. So there is so much value in having a place to come to collaborate with other agents.
Yeah, I think that is very important. We learn from others, and we don't think that, hearing about the issues out there, sometimes that's going to make us grow, but it does, because we're not going to repeat the same mistakes, and we know how to deal with those challenges if they arise in our day-to-day real estate transactions.
Agreed. I think it also builds rapport with agents in the office, right? It creates that camaraderie because it could be something about a conversation that happened in the office, and You may not remember all of the details, but it's an
Mhm.
opportunity now for you to reach out to that particular agent to say, hey, do you remember you were talking about this particular thing happened with your transaction? Well, I have something similar to that. How would you handle this? Right? It's just such a great opportunity to learn from other agents in the office who are more experienced and have had, more opportunities with different clients in different situations for us to learn from.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we've talked about a number of things. We've talked about how to select the right brokerage, what new agents should look for when they're joining our brokerage, what older agents should think about, even if they are comfortable but may want to make a choice. Is there anything that's otherwise that is significant that you would want to share to anyone listening or anyone who's looking to get into the real estate world in terms of of a career? What they would want to know. What would you say to them?
I would tell them to find a mentor early. Find someone that you can align with that can help you on your real estate journey. Real
Hmm.
estate is such a rewarding career, right? But it is a lot of hard work. And I think sometimes when we see things on social media, we think it's really easy, right?
Hmm.
And it's not always. Every day is a different day. Every single day is a different day. So don't get, caught up in all of the hoopla, if you will, of what you
Hmm.
see in front of you. Put your head down, set goals early, and align you and help you get to what your journey is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have one last question for you.
Okay.
How important you think is a support system for a real estate agent, especially someone who's coming in it for the first time?
It's so important. Um, I when I first became full time, I joined a group coaching group before I came to Keller Williams. And when I got to Keller Williams, I immediately got a coach. Within 6 months, I had a real estate coach. And that was that really catapulted my real estate career. Having that early and knowing that that was something that I could plug into. And of course, that's one of the benefits of Keller Williams is that it's already there. It's already built in, right? With
Hmm.
productivity coaching. So take advantage of all of the resources that the brokerage that you select has for you. And I think not enough people take advantage of that.
I think you're spot on. You know, I think a support system can be from, like you say, selecting the right brokerage. Because, as an example, Keller Williams is a company that was made by an agent for agents. And that means that all the systems and models are actually designed towards supporting the agent and their business. And then you're thinking about family support. Always have a family member there to assist you financially, because you make a real estate sale today, that doesn't mean that you're going to be paid that commission today. So that's the type of support you're looking at.
Mhm.
And also, like you said, the culture of whatever company you are a part of, they become your family. And especially in times when you feel distraught and you need to be encouraged, I think a support system is very important. And like you say, don't look at all the fanfare out there and where people think real estate is just so easy, but it's what you put into it is what you actually will get out of it. And that's why you need people who are on your side all the time, supporting you. And what you are doing today is being a support to me and Let's Talk TCI Real Estate. And we are there, to support each other and to help each other grow. So it's been
Absolutely.
a pleasure having you on Let's Talk TCI Real Estate. And thank you so much for taking the opportunity and agreeing to be a part of this podcast. And I definitely look forward to working with you in the future. Do you have any closing remarks that you would like to say?
Again, thank you so much for considering me to have this conversation with you. And I hope it brings such value to the agents in your area who are considering becoming a real estate agent. This is such a rewarding career.
It is. Well, thank you so much. There you have it, Miss Alyssa from Keller Williams, Atlanta. And for you who are listening, thank you always for joining us. And until next time, stay safe and remain blessed. Have a great evening.